So I imagine the biggest questions on people's minds right now are just why and how would I make such a big, ridiculous project? I will start with the why. For a long time, I've been wanting to work on my own animated series project. I've been trying to start them, but animated series take a lot more components than music videos like I was used to animating. And they are also the type of project that takes years, and I had up until that point rarely made anything that took longer than a single day. I would often push myself to work on them in insane 6-hour shifts because I was worried that if I put it down that I'm going to lose interest and never come back to it. I'm the sort of creative that has new ideas all the time and can't seem to focus very much. And being who I am, I picked a completely insane project and set a completely insane expectation that I'd finish it in 40 days with no breaks. I mean, I didn't want this project hanging over my head for the next year and a half, so I had to... Why did you pick a 20-minute animation then, asshole? And I only picked this song because it was there. It was already on my playlist. This was an impulse project that I started on the same night that I finished the Friday night animation, which, by the way, was not on a Friday night. So, how the fuck did I still finish all of it? Bitches are always, like, complimenting me on my discipline. I don't have discipline. It took me 603 days from start to finish this project, and of those I worked for 79. I stopped between tracks 7 and 8 to work on a video game for 114 days. Just to be clear, I wasn't remotely supposed to be working on a video game. Discipline had nothing to do with it. I did not need to learn to push myself even harder in order to finish this project. I had to learn to trust myself, to be able to put things down and trust that I'd get motivation to work on them again later. If you think that the only way in order to get through a project is through brute force, then you're gonna be bringing that attitude to the project. If you treat it like a chore, it becomes a chore, and then you won't want to return to it. And then you will think that you need to push yourself all of the time in order to work on things. You make it into this big fucking deal that you need to finish everything that you start. And so you can't do it. Every time I recommend for somebody to take a break on their creative project, they're always like, but I did! I put it down for a whole 2 weeks! That's pussy shit. Pussy shit. Put it down for half a year and then we'll talk. Artists often talk about needing to have patience and discipline in order to do something major or learn a new skill. That's not untrue, but I believe the biggest thing between you and doing the things you want to do with your art is your confidence. When you truly believe that you are competent, you become competent. If you don't know something, it doesn't matter because you know you can learn. If you get stuck on something, it doesn't matter because you know you can figure it out. And at the end of the day, the Megamix was a challenge, exercise to boost my confidence. And it has done that. Maybe some people will be disappointed to learn that this was kind of just a stepping stone to my other projects. Like, I animated it in an animation meme type style, not as an homage or love letter to animation memes, but because that's just how I draw right now. I did gain a lot of affection and ambition for this project, but only after starting. And of course, I was excited to release it. I am a show-off, and this is my debut on the world stage. Near the beginning, I was like, I'm gonna show the world that I'm not here to fuck around, but I am here to fuck around, so never mind. But near the end of it, as I kind of was mellowing out as a person, it sort of just became like part of my life that I was saying goodbye to, you know? So I wasn't exactly expecting the response. Particularly, I was completely blindsided by how the musician reacted. Hello, Sophia HJKL semicolon 8901. I assume you're watching this. Check out their music. They made the music except for the audio in this part, which was made by my buddy Had. I did not make the music. Sophia HJKL semicolon 8901 did not make the music for this project. No, I just dropped the entire thing on their lap at 2 p.m. on a Monday. I did not think about how insane it is to do that. Do you know how often this happens for musicians? Never. This might have never happened before. It was awesome. I'm so cool. They offered to add a collaboration after the fact to bring me more views if you're wondering about that, which was very nice of them. Thank you, Sophia HJKL semicolon 8901. I think you had. He replaced the audio in that part because what I was animating did not suit it at all. The video doesn't really have a very good sample of his music, so this is like my 5th draft of this video. I've just been struggling to write for it. Part of me is like, what's there to say, you know? And I'm having to re-record all of the lines that I did, because I found out that you're not supposed to record too close to the microphone, and there was mouth noises everywhere. Normally I would just leave them in, but I have a friend with misophonia, so lucky you, bitches. Anyway, there was a whole section about like my weird relationship with YouTube and the internet, but I've already fucking spoken on that before, so I'm cutting the whole fucking shit out. But for anybody watching who is also a fellow internet creator, I have a demand. Stop apologizing for long absences. Never do it again. You look like a loser. Your presence is a gift, and you need to act like it. You are an angel upon the heavens, descending to the earth to distribute free shit among the masses, and you pull up and you go, yeah, sorry guys, I was a little busy. This is why I don't say thanks for watching, because you really are not doing anything for me. I do appreciate the comments though. A lot of people want to know about my process and like how I animate, and that's not really very on topic here. Like I make all of my animations from the same expanding bag of tricks. I could make a tutorial whenever I wanted. So I'm going to talk about my thought process instead. God fuck, I can't believe I have to redo this entire section. It's so long. In the beginning, I put Bloodkill in the water because it recontextualizes the wet sounds and makes them less gross. In track 1, there's this bit, which is obviously inspired by YTPMVs. I put a million different color filters here because I really liked this run cycle. I wanted to play longer, but I didn't want it to get like visually boring. By the time I hit track 2, I was like, okay, I'm a little bit more of Sparkle Cats. I'm gonna animate my humanoid character, Shabra, and to go along with them, I don't know why I animated Mordelia, but her eyes are yellow and green like that because of a different animation I made a long time ago. And she's wearing a tank top and shorts because her regular dress did not fit the vibes. I animated her playing the drums because I've watched one of my siblings drum a lot and I think it's really cool. But anyway, Shabra's design is fucking hard as hell, so I switched to Barb. I was actually going to switch to Irena, but I tried one shot with her and hated it, so I changed my mind again. I assume this stuff is interesting to somebody. This section is fucking hot nonsense. I had no idea what to put here. I animated Barb throwing it back because dun 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 dun. These power lines and shit were inspired by an animation that somebody made using PicoCAD. There's no way that I could find it though. All of the weird illegible text in this animation actually says stuff. I invent fantasy alphabets for fun. I'm not gonna tell you what it says though. I mean, I don't remember for half of them. This part has some character lore to it. So this is my character Aristophanes, and she likes to go out into the post-apocalyptic wasteland city that has been overgrown with grassy fields and just chill out there to escape her problems. Most people can't survive there, but she can for reasons, and I guess Envy also can because she's also here. Or maybe this is a different place. I mean, I guess a bunch of power lines does not constitute a city. This is the deep Megamix lore you came here for. Fucking enjoy. I actually don't do edgy sketch animation almost ever because I do not sketch, but I wanted to do some for the vibe, so I put it here. This is my character, Bloodkill. Z is a dorky kid that really wants to look cool, so naturally he's the protagonist of this section. You really can't hear the lyrics very well since they're so sped up, so I thought it would be funny to make it like one of those AMVs that is overly dependent on the lyrics, so you just have no idea what's happening. Fun fact, this entire project is in 24 FPS except for Pony Swag, which is in 12 FPS. I introduced the fact that Bloodkill is banned from the fucking club because that's part of the lyrics, but in universe it's because they face discrimination for their aberrant heritage. Don't worry about what an aberrant is right now, okay? And like, I was actively trying not to give this animation a plot, but having introduced that, it felt wrong to just let it sit there, so I had to break it to the fucking club. I also don't like good stories when just like all of the background characters are being jerks for stupid reasons, so I had everybody just vibing and having a good time aside from Hater 1 and Hater 2. Bloodkill finds acceptance at the club today. Since I Got Boots is a remix of a kids show song, I aimed for like bright, obnoxious kids slop YouTube vibes, but it's also been transformed into kind of like blaring, imposing breakcore, so this track also has a kind of dark side to it, and that's a juxtaposition that I go absolutely insane for, so I had a lot of fun with this track. It was the longest and hardest due to how much experimentation I was doing, and I also took a big fat 134-day break in the middle, but it came out as my favorite out of the whole bunch. Trap Queen was a huge struggle because I did not have any good choices for characters that fit it. I had to just kind of make up new bitches. Like, this guy Wavetable is based off my character Intercom, but his girlfriend Lumi is not based off Intercom's girlfriend, so they're just kind of their own thing that exists just for this animation. And I didn't have any lore, and I didn't have any other characters that could have worked, so I just was constantly running out of ideas. This section took me many attempts, and what I ended up doing was just cobbling all the different attempts together, so it's a mess. Track 7 was an experience because, like, right off the bat, I'm already tired from the bullshit in track 6, so I'm like, alright, I'm gonna make the most lazy, terrible looking dog shit animation in the world. I did not succeed. It came out really cool looking. These background effects were made in Mosh Pro. Most of the rest of the animation is all ToonSquid native effects. But also, for some reason, anytime I tried to make something super bright and saturated, which is just generally my habit, that there was some part of my brain that was just like, no, that's wrong. You need to dial that back. The only section that I made major changes to after finishing the whole track was during this one, and it was more dialing back the saturation. I pulled out my best, most naturalistic looking lip sync at the end because I knew it would be funny for that to come right before. Speaking of track 8, it is my least favorite by actually a lot. The morph animation at the start is inspired by this really cool animation, Love and Theft, which I will link in the description. I think I emulated it extremely poorly. I feel like it could have been served by having a little more color, but I think also because this sort of soundscape-driven abstract animation is not very well served by noisy breakcore. The fucking second segment, there was so much going on that I had no idea what to put at the forefront. I blazed through this track in 5 consecutive days and felt nothing the whole time. I do like this noisy ass background I made for it though. It's inspired by what I think I remember Damaged Film looking like. This is a really obvious Kick and Flip Note reference. These characters were made for the Megamix in one of my many attempts to figure out what the fuck to do with track 8, but I ended up using them in track 9 because they didn't fit. Nothing fit. Track 9 is some sort of anime girl song, so I made some of them into anime girls. This part is Minecraft because the piano reminded me of Minecraft a little. By the way, that is not footage. That is a painstaking recreation of footage that my buddy Tig got for me. Thank you, Tig. At the start of the whole animation, my plan was just to make random bullshit the whole time, and I did not stick to that plan. I immediately started building little continuities with the characters, but I thought it would be fun to return to that idea for the last track. Fulfill the original vision in spirit or something. This part I was planning on since the very start. These recorder sounding synths are so funny. It's inspired by that choir game in Rhythm Heaven where the choir guys can only sing one note each. These characters are all my friends' Sonas. I had Rem playing almost all of the notes because of how much bullshit keeps happening in their life, and I had my Sona looking all stressed because that's just how it feels to coordinate people. And then it's back to fucking whatever for the rest of the track. Somewhere between these two shots, I started drawing my Sona with the mask off, but I didn't want to break continuity with the character design, so they still had it on here, and then I inserted an animation later where they take it off. And then, of course, the end bit is callbacks to everything else. Yeah, I really underestimated how much shit I had to say about this. Anyway, one of the other things I imagine people might want to know is this an animation meme and or can I make my own? This sort of style is what I like to call post-anime, which is typically when animation meme creators or former animation meme creators make shit that is the same style but isn't an animation meme for whatever reason. For me, it's just because I create random shit, and so I'd have to label literally everything original meme, and As for can you get inspired by it? Yeah, yes you can. You can get inspired by anything that I've ever made in my entire life. You can make obvious knockoffs of my OCs. See if I care. It's not like I'm getting paid for this. Alright, I will also preemptively answer a question you might have about this video. Do I have a cold, or did I just wake up in the morning? No, I'm talking like this on purpose. That's it from me tonight. See you whenever I make something else. And remember to love yourself, because take it from me, bitches go crazy for a little bit of confidence. You hate yourself? Come on, that shit is so yesterday. Everyone and their mom fucking hates themselves. Do you want to be a fucking normie? Seriously, I cannot stress how ridiculous the self-esteem situation is. You are not uniquely deficit. Everybody thinks that. Surely everybody cannot all be so much worse than everybody else. Ugh.